On May 30th, 2018, at 8:40 in the morning, a white Range Rover drives past the forest cemetery in Riga, Latvia, and inside it is Mārtiņš Bunkus, a lawyer, insolvency administrator, father, while on his way to work. A van with a tarp-covered trailer pulls alongside, and then 7 rounds from an AK-47 tear through the driver's side window. Bunkus's car swerves, crashes into the cemetery fence, but unfortunately, he's dead before any sirens even start. This is the story of a man who asked too many questions, and the businessmen who paid 300,000 euros to silence him forever. It's 2016, and Latvia is in crisis. The country's banking sector, long rumored to be a haven for Russian money laundering, is under international scrutiny, with both the United States Treasury and European Union watching and investigating. In Riga, Latvia's capital, lawyer Mārtiņš Bunkus is doing what few dare to do. He's raising alarms about this situation. Bunkus isn't just any lawyer, though. He's a sworn advocate with 18 years' experience. He's an insolvency administrator, which is someone appointed by the courts to investigate bankrupt companies, recover assets, and just generally follow the money. He's also involved with forensic accounting, which involves document trails and interviews, which can be dangerous work in Latvia's murky financial world. During this time in 2016, Bunkus is investigating a food wholesale company called Riga Trade. The company collapsed in 2008 during the global financial crisis, but Bunkus discovers something suspicious. Before the bankruptcy, 3 board members, Mihails Ulmans, Aleksandrs Bedovskis, and Dan Svapne, had systematically drained the company's assets worth hundreds of thousands of euros. Bunkus takes him to court, and in 2012, Latvia's Supreme Court rules in his favor. Ulmans alone is ordered to pay 377,000 euros. It's a stunning victory. It truly felt like justice was served. But Ulmans doesn't pay. He stalls. He appeals. Bunkus keeps pushing, though, keeps investigating and asking questions. Then he discovers something else, something bigger, something that ultimately gets him killed. Ulmans isn't just a businessman with a bankruptcy problem. He owns 49% of a company called Mono, and Mono owns Latvia's 11th largest bank, LPB Bank. Bunkus begins raising concerns about money laundering at LPB. He reports his suspicions to Latvia's financial regulators, to anti-corruption agencies, and the prosecutor's office. He names names and cites evidence. And one name keeps appearing in his reports: Andreas Sovanovs, the former chief of Riga's criminal police, a man who somehow managed to hold a high-ranking police position while simultaneously working, first officially, then quietly, for Ulmans Bank. The conflict of interest is staggering, and Bunkus won't let it go. It was in that same year of 2016 that Bunkus would start to receive death threats. He reports them to police, but nothing happens. So he continues his work. The Riga trade case is still active, and auctions are scheduled for May 13th, 2018, worth hundreds of thousands of euros for rights of claim against the remaining defendants. Bunkus plans to sell them to finally recover what was stolen. On May 29th, though, one day before the auctions, Bunkus cancels them last minute, with no explanation given. And the next morning, he's dead. The murder sent shockwaves through Latvia. A public official, a lawyer, shot in broad daylight on a public street near the main headquarters of the state police. The interior minister calls it a contract killing, the most brazen hit in recent Latvian history, and everyone knows why. Someone wanted him dead because of his work. But knowing why and proving are two different things. The investigation drags. Months become years, and Bunkus's family grows frustrated. They offer a 500,000 euro reward for information. They hold press conferences. They accuse authorities of dragging their feet, of bowing to pressure and protecting powerful people. The family believes they know who ordered the hit. But arrests? Charges? Nothing. There was nothing until May 24th, 2022. 4 years after the murder, police announce a breakthrough. Multiple arrests. They've identified practically everyone involved, from the hitman who pulled the trigger to the businessmen who ordered the killing. Mikhail's Umans, Alexander's Babenko, Russian citizen Viktor Krivoshe, and a fourth man, the alleged middleman who connected them all, an underworld figure by the name of Gennadys Valagins. But there's a problem. Valagins is already dead, shot in Riga in March 2022, just weeks before the arrests. Convenient timing, or perhaps not convenient at all. Perhaps someone made sure the middleman, the one person who could connect all the dots, would never testify. The case goes to trial in April 2023. The prosecution lays out the timeline with 121 volumes of evidence, witness testimony, forensic analysis, phone records, and financial transactions. Umans and Babenko, business partners, former co-owners of companies, became furious with Bunkus's relentless investigation, his court victories, refusal to back down, and reports about their bank. So they agreed on a price, 300,000 euros. They hired Valagins to arrange the hit. Valagins recruited Krivoshe, the shooter, a Russian citizen with military training. Krivoshe would receive 70,000 euros for pulling the trigger. The rest would go to intermediaries and planners. The contract was calculated, professional. They would use a van towing a trailer with a tarp covering the trailer bed and Krivoshe hiding inside with a gun. They followed Bunkus's route, waited for the right moment, pulled alongside him, and opened fire. 7 shots, then they vanished. The van was found later, burned, fake license plates and no fingerprints. The defense argues innocence. Umans and Babenko claim they're being framed. Krivoshe denies everything. But the evidence is overwhelming. Phone records showing contact between the conspirators, financial transfers, witness statements, surveillance footage. The pieces all fit. On October 29th, 2024, 6 years and 5 months after Mārtiņš Bunkus was murdered, the Riga City Court delivers its verdict. Viktor Krivoshe, life imprisonment. Mikhail's Umans, 15 years in prison, 3 years probation, property confiscation. Alexander's Babenko, 15 years in prison, 3 years probation, and property confiscation as well. The courtroom is silent. Bunkus's family, his father Ojars, his mother Dace, his brothers Kristaps and Kaspars sit together. Justice. Finally. But not closure. Because 15 years feels insufficient when someone you love was executed in broad daylight for doing his job. Kristaps Bunkus, Mārtiņ's brother, speaks to reporters afterward. His voice is measured, controlled. The court determined they hired a killer to silence him, he says, all because Mārtiņ's exercised his professional duties with dedication. Given the circumstances, 15 years hardly feels sufficient. The verdicts can be appealed, and they likely will be. The legal process will continue. Lawyers will argue, judges will deliberate, years more perhaps. But for now, the men who ordered the murder are behind bars. The hitman will die in prison. And Latvia has sent a message, however delayed, however imperfect, that contract killings will not stand. But here's what still haunts the case. What keeps people awake at night asking questions. Valagins, the middleman. He was killed before he could be charged, before he could testify and name everyone involved. The investigation identified 4 main players, but what about the others? The ones who provided the van, the fake plates, the intelligence on Bunkus's route, the safe houses, the burner phones. Contract killings don't happen in a vacuum. They require infrastructure. They require networks and money. And then there's the bigger question, the one the family has been asking since 2016, the one that might never be answered in court. Who protected these men for so long? 4 years between murder and arrests while a family begged for justice. 4 years while evidence grew cold, witnesses disappeared, and middlemen got shot. 4 years while Umans continued running his businesses and life went on as if nothing had happened. The family alleges that there was pressure during the investigation, attempts to influence the process, threats, the machinery of money and power trying to grind justice to a halt. Maybe it worked and some people will never face consequences. Maybe some names will never be spoken in court. Because in Latvia, like in so many countries where money and crime intersect, there are always more questions than answers, more shadows than light. Mārtiņš Bunkus was 41 years old when he died. He was a father, a husband, a brother, a son, and a lawyer who believed in the rule of law, who thought if you worked hard enough, investigated thoroughly enough, followed the evidence wherever it led, justice would prevail. He was wrong about that, at least for himself anyways. Justice came, but 6 years too late. After he'd been murdered in the street and his children grew up without a father, after his family spent years fighting a system that seemed designed to protect the powerful. 3 men are behind bars. 1 is dead, but somewhere in Latvia are other people who know things they'll never say. These are people who helped, who looked the other way, who made phone calls or moved money or provided alibis or simply stayed quiet when they should have spoken. Justice has been served, as so the verdicts say. The judge's gavel fell, the cell doors closed, but Mārtiņš Bunkus is still dead, and his family still wonders who else knew, who else helped, who else got away. The case is closed, but the questions remain, and in Latvia, where banking, secrecy, and criminal networks have always danced too close together, those questions will linger like ghosts, unanswered, unresolved.